Hello and welcome to another day on The Real Cosmic Joke. My name is Baytop Scott.
And I'm Jalynn Schroeder.
And Jalynn, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about discernment in a world of chaos because it has been crazy lately. And I know everyone's feeling it. Are you feeling it?
Wait, am I feeling it? Yeah, I am actually. It just feels like the first week of January was basically 2 years of disaster that happened in 1 week.
I
And
know.
so yeah, what are some things that popped up recently for you?
Well, I'll say this. I was actually talking to Sandra about this earlier today. There's just so much information coming in. And if you guys remember in 2020, I feel like it was the same, but this is going to be on a much grander scale. There's information coming in from every possible angle and every possible side, and it gets confusing. And I will say, I'm following people. Unfortunately, this is a political thing. I follow people from the extreme right. I follow some people from the extreme left. I follow people who are just like straight up facts. And I also follow black pill accounts, which, if you don't know what that is, they basically think there's no good guys and, we're moving into a new world order, which I don't believe. But I follow all of these accounts because I like to see different perspectives. And it's actually pretty crazy because whether you claim to be in one of these groups of people, everyone has information that is proving their side about a certain topic. And it's very convincing.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
me coming from a neutral position and looking at these accounts, I'm like, I can see why everyone's confused because this information on the right is very convincing. This information on the left is very convincing. This information on this black pill account is very convincing. And then I go to the account that I follow. It's called Jordan is My Lawyer. She just gives like straight up like just facts. Like, this is how this works. This is what this looks like. And most of the time the information coming out is not even factual. So there's going to be a lot of information this year. And that's why we want to talk about this, is because I think our discernment is going to be needed this year more than any other year that we have been alive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So I was actually reading this prophecy book. I read a bunch of prophecies. I'm fascinated by prophecies in general.
Which one is it?
It's that one that was written by that LDS guy.
Oh, I don't know this one.
I think he sold like 100,000 copies. I think it was written in the 80s and it's about the end times. But I like reading like the Hopi prophecies,
Yeah.
any type of biblical prophecies, Aztec prophecies, Mayans.
Fascinating.
Like, I'm obsessed. There's like some cult leader from like 1920 that was right outside of Moab. I forgot her name right now, but she had prophecies about the comings of times. So I was like obsessed with her like a few months ago, and I just love prophecies. I'm fascinated by human culture and nature. And this one prophecy book, it talks about how the mark of the beast, we've all heard that in biblical terms, is actually it's negative versus positive, right? It's that dark and light. And he said mark of the beast will be when you're in such a vibration or energy that's positive, you're going to discern between good and bad just by your energy. And anyone who is not good for you or anything that's not good for you is technically the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's quite
like
fascinating.
You're saying like in your personal life.
Yeah. So in your personal life, if I think there's these generalizations we can make of what's good and bad, right?
Yeah, totally.
At the end of the day, everything is a lesson. Everything is some form of truth.
Yeah.
Some form of lie. But, I think murder, right? That's bad. We technically will say that. Rape, all these things. And if someone were like a rapist or something, you could feel that in them. Like the mark
their
of the
energy
beast would be like the dark energy.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was really interesting because it's like, wow, just the currency of the future. One of them, I mean, there's a few of them, but discernment that's where that currency lies, and authenticity and your intuition. When you have discernment, you can figure out what path is for you and what path is not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like with all this information coming in, the discernment is at an all time, like we need it to be at our best, like our at top notch level 10 discernment right now. And yeah, so I want to dive in. I want to ask you, like, what does discernment even mean to you?
Discernment feels it feels like something I've been getting a lot clearer on.
Yeah.
And for me it's to choose what energy is for me and what energy is not for me.
Yeah.
And I can't measure that. So if there's someone who's not for me, they're just not for me. And my soul, my intuition just knows it.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've placed myself in so many different situations throughout my life to meet people, to learn lessons, to, get robbed, to be in bad situations, to
Yeah.
do bad business with people, like all these lessons.
Totally.
So my discernment has become like a radio station. I'm getting clearer
You're like
and
fine
clear.
tuning it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
and now it's not even people are bad. It's just discerning what is for my higher good right now.
Yeah, and I think this is where it's going to get tricky for some people because we have been raised in a very black and white way of thinking. So I think some people are going to have a hard time with what you just said because people either want it to be right or not right.
Yeah,
When in reality, I know like my truth triggers a lot of people when I say it, but I also think that there is some truth to that because something can be for me and not for other people. And
exactly.
so I think that's where we need to take a step back and see a bigger picture here.
Yeah.
So
But I want to ask you that question for you. What is discernment?
so I wrote this down. So for me, it's about separating what feels aligned with my inner truth from what is just outside noise. So for me, taking a step back and getting outside of any echo chambers, because social media truly has become an echo chamber, especially if you're only following people that you agree with or that are on your side. It is really easy to just get stuck in that echo chamber and to think this is the truth. But in all reality, if you take a step back, there are many stories going on with the same situation or the same thing. And so discernment to me is it's really about, yeah, separating what is right for you and what is not right for you.
Yeah.
And again, it's not black and white. So I think
No,
people are going to
it's
struggle with
very
that. So
complex.
hopefully we live in a black and white world where everyone wants, and I think that's why religion is not was, is so popular because, and I'll talk for myself, um, I'm a rule follower and I love to have a list of things. So religion was great for me at the time because it was like, hey, you're going to go to heaven if you do this list of things. And I was like, hell yeah, like this is great.
Sign
Like
me up,
I
baby.
have a list of things that's going to guarantee that I get into heaven. I just have to follow these list of things. And that was great for me. So I think it's really going to mind bend some people who have to kind of think outside of that box of not everything is black and white. Not everything is good and bad. Some things can be good for some and not good for others.
I feel like, yeah, we could keep riffing off that one question the whole episode.
I know,
But
totally.
we have some more questions, you guys.
Okay, so here's this before we dive into the questions. Well, this is a question. How do you know when you're discerning versus just reacting?
That's a great question. I was talking to my friend recently, and as we've both gotten clear on, what's unfolding in front of us, where maybe our life path is going, your biggest gift and your biggest trauma, it's a blurred line.
Oh, totally.
Because my gift comes from my biggest trauma,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes I have found myself just as I get curious, I'm like, whoa, was that my gift that came out or was that my trauma that came out? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so even finding that discernment of,
So like if it's a trigger or you're discerning.
yeah. And, uh, what I'm beginning to find out, and this is years of like, it's this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it's, do I have peace with my reaction? Or, even if my reaction might be a bit impulsive, like, am I doing that because it's out of my higher good and it's a contracted lesson I had?
Yeah.
Or am I acting out of this shadow side that is desiring control and this need of fear and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
so peace or fear. I think that's a great indicator. Like, are you making this decision out of peace or fear?
Yeah, and then we can unbreak fear even more because it's if your throat chakra is like speak and you're like, well, I'm too afraid to speak. So where is
Yeah.
is it the fear from the shadow, or is it the fear from that's your true gift and you've got to move through it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, where does it break down from there, Jalynn? What rabbit hole did we just send everyone on?
Oh, that's a lot. Okay,
Okay.
let's go into some more questions. Dun dun dun.
Why is discernment so hard right now?
I mean, I think just what we said before, there's so much propaganda. And when we say propaganda, this means that this is stuff that is intentionally put out to confuse the masses, to divide the masses. And I have had conversations with people, and a lot of people have used the rebuttal like, I don't listen to the news, but like, where do you think your information is coming from?
A meme, duh.
Well, us, yes. But I think a lot of the information is coming from the news outlet, and people grab that information and they share it on their social media, and then yeah, it gets turned into memes and clips and whatever. But a lot of that is propaganda, and a lot of that is pushing one side. It's not actually reporting factual information, it is pushing one side.
Yeah, and I think for me, just responding from that comment you just made, is when I feel that someone isn't self-reflective of even their own decisions and
Mhm.
actions and beliefs, it makes it harder to discern, even if I like what they're saying, to discern if they're being honest, if not.
Totally.
Because when you can be self-reflective and you're like, well, actually it could be this, and my intuition feels like it's this, or these facts are supporting what this feeling is I have.
Yeah, and I'll say the most empowering thing for me personally is taking a stance of neutrality. Like I said, following different accounts that are sharing different kinds of information, because then I can take a step back. I can look at the information, and then I can say, what is my discernment telling me, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're in an echo chamber and you're only following people on your side or in your group of people, how do you know what is truth and how do you know what is not truth? So I feel like I want to challenge you guys. This is going to be my first challenge. I want to challenge you guys just to follow maybe a couple different accounts. You don't need to go follow all these people. I feel like I only follow like, a handful of accounts that are sharing different information. But I want to encourage you or challenge you to follow someone that thinks differently than you. And if you get triggered, that is the biggest gift. Honestly, it's the biggest gift. Anytime I get triggered, I'm sure you are the same way. It's a chance for me to self-reflect and to ask myself, why is this triggering me? Because if I don't believe there's truth in it or whatever, like, why would it be triggering to me? You
Yep.
know?
Yep.
So there's something there that
Yep.
I need to look into. So there's my challenge.
Face the trigger.
Face the trigger and follow people that think differently than you.
Yeah, I think there's some really grounded individuals on both sides.
Yeah, totally.
Like if you're looking politically, RFK on one side, and I still think, Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
even though they're two different people, they seem to follow the truth of their perspective more than what's like popular.
Yeah.
And so if we were going on political spectrums, I'd be like, those are two pretty decent sources.
Yeah. Just see,
But then again,
you just never know.
you never know.
I
You
think this
never
might be
know.
the year where every single person learns that politicians are politicians
Yeah,
and
they're very
everyone has
human.
skeletons in their closet. Everyone's human, and I think this is another tangent, but I think we put too many people on pedestals. And I don't know about you guys, but everyone has made mistakes in their life, and I would hate to be in a spotlight where everyone judges every move, because we are supposed to be human. I'm not excusing anything anyone's done, by the way, but we are human and we're supposed to make mistakes and we're supposed to mess up. So can you imagine being in the spotlight where everyone dissects and judges your every word and your every
Yeah.
move? Like if you accidentally say something wrong, you will be canceled. Like,
Yeah, I would love to create a culture where messing up and being self-aware of where you might have gone wrong, or I mean, maybe it's contracted lesson, so I guess everything is technically right,
yeah,
even the wrong. but where we held space for that.
Yeah.
Just, okay, yeah, I did say an off-wall comment and I should have been more respectful.
And that's where we hold people accountable, not from them messing up, but like, how are you going to show up after you've messed up? Are you going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to say that, or I have new information, I'm going to change my mind now? I just think the internet is just, it's hard.
Yeah, we have created perfection.
And it makes me sad. I was telling you earlier, I was scrolling on Instagram Reels, and every reel, it just broke my heart. Everyone was mean about everything. Like the silliest things, like someone dancing and just enjoying and having a good time, someone doing XYZ. It's like there was not one reel that wasn't just droves of hate. And I'm like, this is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, why are you coming on here and dancing? You suck. Why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. You're a terrible mother. Just like all these comments. And what happened to just like don't like be nice or
Be kind.
Don't say anything? It's just, I don't know. And I think coming from a bigger perspective, things are going to get worse before they get better. Everyone's triggered right now. And with everyone being triggered, we now individually have the choice to face our triggers and grow or not and stay behind.
Yeah, I feel
energetically.
I have another question to ask.
Oh.
What do you think makes people cling to sides or genders rather than trust themselves?
Safety. It feels safe. Doesn't it? Doesn't it not feel safe?
Oh, it feels totally safe.
So safe.
Explain more. Tell us more.
Oh, you guys are going to get so sick of me using religion as the example, but that's my life, so that's what I'm using.
Welcome to the classroom.
I feel like for me, religion was so safe. And it was, again, I had a list of things that I had to do to get into heaven and to be with my family. And it was safe. And as soon as I left my life, I don't think people understand when you leave something like that, how traumatic it is and how much upheaval it is. And I lost all my safety. I lost my comfort. I lost everything. And I think that's why people cling to things, is because, first of all, it feels safe.
Yep.
It's what they know. And they probably are just passionate. They're passionate and haven't looked outside of other opinions. I don't know. I just feel compassion for so many people on different sides. And I can see why people get to the conclusion they get to, because they're passionate about something different than I am.
Yeah, because I think when you start to unpack yourself enough, you're like, ooh, that was kind of cringe. Ooh, that part of me I need to work on. And when you reflect so much on yourself at a certain point, you're like, you know what room do I have to judge people? And it's a constant unraveling of that, because I think as women, like comparison judgment, that we talked about that one episode, is part of the DNA that we're breaking out of, this comparison judgment. And I think if you go back to our indigenous ways, right? If you were to be in your little tribe, your community, you went by those rules, because if you were to survive in the wilderness alone, you wouldn't make it. You wouldn't live, right?
Yeah.
And I go back to like the COVID shot, whether you got it because you're afraid that if you didn't, you would die. And like, if you really go back to the fear and like unpack it, there's a fear that I might die if I don't get this.
Yeah.
And then there can be other reasons too. It's not that general, but if you didn't get the vaccine, is because you had a fear that the vaccine could kill you. Yeah. Right. And so these two very, I think, polarized subjects, like the vaccine's one of the biggest ones, at the root of both sides is really this fear of death.
Yeah.
And, when you can have compassion for someone else, to be like, wow, you're actually afraid of the same exact thing as me. Literally the same thing as me.
Yeah. I mean, if we get down to the core of it, we all want the same thing. We all want to be loved. We want peace. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants this chaos. I mean, I think everyone wants the same things, but we have just gotten so far away from that because of the propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
And because of social media. And I mean, whatever you want to say they is, but they have created such a perfect environment to just continue to create more and more and more division. Like, they can throw something out and literally convince a group of people to think a certain way within minutes that something's happening that's not actually happening.
Oh, yeah. And And they've created certain topics where they've massaged the propaganda for decades.
Oh yeah.
So if if you've gotten on that train, they know they can bring you in anytime they use those catchphrases.
Yeah.
It's like a fishing.
Fishing. So, I mean, that's definitely what makes it easier to, follow the crowd than stand firm. I think people are getting more and more scared of speaking their truth. Even me, where I feel like I'm pretty open and bold on my social media, even I am like, I don't want to deal with this like mob mentality. If I have a different opinion from other people, I just get attacked,
Yeah.
And I posted a reel on Instagram about the right's mad at me because I am not taking their side. The left's mad at me because I'm not taking their side. And I lost like 200 followers just posting that reel, which thank goodness, like, please leave.
Yeah.
I don't want that energy in my space. If you cannot follow people because they have to think exactly the way you do, it's concerning. Like, are you using your discernment or are you stuck in an echo chamber?
Yeah. And, obviously follow people that you feel are genuinely kind people.
Totally.
And trustworthy. Like, there's some people that they might have a differing opinion, but they're so aggressive in their difference that I'm like, oh.
Or hateful
and anyone who's like just using words for the hell of it to make fun of the other side to prove their point. I'm just like, no, that's not what I'm looking.
That's not my vibe at all.
Can we just have more graceful conversations about where the disconnect is and possibly that we have differing opinions because we come from a different background?
Yeah, and that's okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have these different experiences. Ugh, it's hard.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where you discern so much that you're like, well, I'm just actually not going to leave the house for a few weeks now.
I'm actually not going to do anything anymore. I'm just going to stay at home.
I'm just going to wait for the bank to kick me out of the house. We're not paying bills. We're not doing anything.
Okay, so let's talk about how to tune in to your intuition and strengthen your discernment, because I do believe it's like a tool. Like, the more you tune in to yourself and the more you trust yourself, the easier it will be for you to discern information. And also, on that note, if you are using your discernment and something your side, let's just say you're part of the right, and something your side is saying is not sitting well with you, it is okay to not believe that thing.
Yep.
Like, the black and white mentality, I really think, is one of the biggest things that is causing our downfall right now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Which is, it's supposed to happen, but still, I think the faster we awaken to our discernment and using our intuition, the quicker we're going to get out of this mess.
Yeah, and then the softer the landing is going to be.
Huh? Yeah, the softer the landing.
Yeah, I want a soft landing.
I do too. Okay, actionable tools. What helps you to strengthen your discernment? Like, what is your best piece of advice or a tool?
I've been on this, in 2017, I started my journey, and it intensified in 2020, I think, as most people it did, right? And one of the things I was realizing is, for the first few years of my healing journey, it was all this mental mindset, like, oh, I need to get my mind in order. For me, the discernment is beyond mental health. It's like full body health, because if my nervous system is dysregulated, I'll never have full mental health. I'll never have full emotional health or spiritual health, right?
Well, don't you think if you feel dysregulated, don't you feel like you would make more decisions based out of fear?
Oh, yeah, but I think so many of us have been so gaslit by society that you're exhausted because you have 3 kids. You're exhausted because you just have a job and you got to keep working through it. And it's like, no, we are literally, especially as women, like, if you haven't gotten your hormones checked, go get them checked. And you could add to this, I know, times a million, but we really got to get our nervous system regulated, our emotions regulated. So then we can go into these practices and really start to fine tune our discernment. So
beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that. Has meditation been helpful for you? I know you like to meditate a lot. You're great at that.
Yeah, I meditate a lot. My meditation journey has been quite profound, and points of like meditate for like 10 hours a day. Dang. 8 hours a day. Yeah.
I last about 3 minutes.
And I went to this actually meditation retreat, and it was 10 days, and it was 10 hours of meditation a day, and it was all silent meditation, which I think is beautiful. But then again, I find that we use these tools to such an extreme that people are having out of body experiences, and they're becoming so ethereal that they're not locked into
the human
the
experience.
human experience. And I believe we came here. So
Yeah.
So again, any of these tools, even meditation, can lead to delusionment.
Delusionment.
Delusionalment. I don't know. A new word.
Yeah.
Um
Balance, baby.
Yeah, balance. And so yeah, meditation does help.
I
I
think
just don't do extreme anymore.
Yeah, I think we all have to learn that lesson, you know, the waves of when you start a spiritual journey, you almost feel like doing things to the extreme. I think everyone can relate to that to some
Yeah.
extent.
It's obsessive.
Yeah, it is, because then you're like, oh, I need to do this thing every single day. But in all reality, it just needs to be a tool, and it needs to be
Yeah.
when it feels good and right for you. You do not have to meditate. I say this all the time. We are like human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual just by nature. We are
Yep.
spiritual when we eat. We are spiritual when we sleep. We are spiritual when we're getting ready. Like everything we do is spiritual. So find tools that work for you and uplift you and don't cause you more fear or cause you like stress.
Yeah.
Like I have to do this thing. That's
Yes.
not a good tool if it's causing you stress.
Yeah, exactly. It's in what can integrate into your life
Yeah.
easily. Another one, walking.
Oh,
And I think
yes. I'm a huge
walking,
fan.
yeah, I know, we're walkers. Anytime I'm triggered online and I'm stuck in some repetitive pattern inside my brain, I just go for a walk and then I'll meditate.
That's my favorite kind of
So,
meditation is walking. I love
okay,
it.
now tell us about your practices or tools that you
Okay.
integrate.
So I'm going to say asking yourself questions. This is probably the most powerful thing for me. I have to what is the word? I'm going to forget words all the time, aren't I?
We're making new words. We don't even
We're
care.
going to make new words.
We don't care.
I process things by speaking and having conversations with myself or with others. Sometimes I just need to speak it out into the universe, and that's another reason why I love this podcast. It's healing to just speak and to move through this energy. So I have some questions that I want you guys to ask yourself before you form an opinion. These are very powerful questions. These are going to empower you. So when you are taking on information, you can look at things from a different viewpoint. So one of them, does this feel true for me? And again, if it's something that someone you're just like obsessed with, you follow, you always feel like they tell the truth, and it feels something inside of you is saying like this, something's off. I want you to listen to that. Like trust yourself. The next one, am I responding from fear or clarity? This is a big one, especially this year. I feel like everything being pushed at us is fear, propaganda. It's like if this person gets into office, we're all going to die. We're going to lose all our rights. If this person, I mean, it's just there's so much fear. And I feel like every title I see, every whatever, it's so fear-based. It's not empowering. The last one, who benefits from me believing this? That is a very powerful one. If you're reading an article or if you're reading something that someone posted about something going on, who benefits from me believing this?
Follow the money, baby.
Yeah, follow the money. That's a big one. If you look at where information's coming from and how they might benefit from you believing this information and buying into this information, you might look at things a lot differently.
Yeah. You know, Jalynn, I really love that breakdown of questions, and we got to create like a little guide. I mean, we're not doing too much work, but in our heads, visually, like a little guide of all that would be wonderful. But the question you said, am I responding from fear or clarity? I think it gets back to that echo chamber, getting rid of that echo chamber.
Yeah.
And when you feel like Donald Trump's here to destroy the world, or Kamala Harris is here to destroy the world, I would say reach out to a friend that has, if you're afraid of Trump, why did they really support Trump?
Yeah.
Like, but don't just be like
listen to understand is what you're saying.
Yeah, have empathetic listening.
Yeah.
And that emotional intelligence. Don't listen to prove them wrong, because if you really get curious, a lot of these fears, they go deeper than whatever some face value policy
Totally.
says. It's I'm afraid of my children, this.
Yeah.
I wake up every night because I'm afraid of like if we get to the real fears, I think it allows us to bring clarity of like, okay, I can see why.
Yeah. And if we look back in history, even the last like 10 years, a lot of things that we were told were going to happen did not happen. It was just fear being pushed on us to create these divisive, create division, but also to sway our opinion a certain way.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, girl. Oh my gosh.
Okay, discernment, living with discernment in daily life, discernment in action. I think one thing that I can say is empowering is just deciding not to engage in the drama or polarization. If you get online and you are like, this is heavy, this is too much, and you're finding yourself getting so angry over politics every single day and fighting with people, do you really think that's where you need to be spending your time and your energy?
Yeah.
And I know I get a lot of this online. People will message me and be like, why aren't you speaking about on this topic? You have a responsibility. You have an audience. And I think that's bullshit. I really do. I don't think every single one of us are supposed to be involved in every single issue or be speaking about every single issue. With me, I like to view things in a very neutral perspective on a very spiritual level. I like to like bird's eye view everything. And a lot of times I don't have this like 100%, this is what I believe, this is the side I'm taking. I just am viewing things. And it's been fascinating to be following these different accounts and seeing the story that every single side is pushing. And I'm like, this is literally a spiritual war. This is mind manipulation. And everyone is just eating it up. So just don't engage in the drama and the polarization. Like just don't engage in it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels like that simple to me. But then I also get we're human and we get passionate about things. Like I go on rants sometimes. I'm not perfect. We're not ever on here saying we're perfect and we do things perfectly. There's going to be times, but I think in general for our mental health, we are not supposed to be consuming. Like we were not created to consume and to see every natural disaster, every war. Like I don't think our human bodies were no wonder our nervous systems are fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just look at our political system, like how it's set up, and I'm not talking about left or right, I'm just talking about
as a whole.
There's the city council, and then the city council, there's a house reps for the state, and then there's the state senates, and then the US senates or US House, US Senate.
Yep.
And it goes up and up, and it's because, back in the day, we didn't have information at our fingertips 24/7. So we came together in small groups to talk about issues, and we'd relay it back to the community.
Yeah.
And then it would just go up and up, and we had to have trust in our leadership in our communities. But now with all this information, I just don't think we're here to consume 24/7
No.
of all this information. And I don't think every single you hit on this. We don't have to care about every single issue. Like,
No,
yes, we have compassion because we're human, but
yes.
The war in the Middle East, I know that affects all of us. It's not my battle right now.
Yeah.
And then,
but that doesn't mean we can't have compassion. We can hold compassion for the suffering going on around the world without like what does fighting in the comment section on social media do for a war going on or anything, if we're using anything as an example. So when you're expecting people to show up, but all I'm seeing from those people who are expecting me to show up is they're fighting and calling me names and I'm like, what is that doing?
Yeah, it doesn't actually make me want to help your cause.
Well, it's also not making a difference. It's just creating more chaos and more division. It's not helping anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you stay engaged while protecting your energy?
Dun, dun, dun. Well, sometimes so when the wildfire happened, right? The Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go to TikTok. I got to figure out what is this, what's going on, what's happening. Da, 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 da. And I went down so many rabbit holes. And then a few days into each of those, it's like, you know what? I can intuitively guess what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously like holding space for survivors and victims and everything that's wrapped up. And also, I still have clients to work with. I still,
Well, there's a point where we have to go live our life.
Yeah.
Because we can hold space for people and still go and live our life. Like, that is the best thing that we can do for the world right now, is to be in tune with our body and to have joy in our life. We cannot all be fighting and depressed, and I mean, that brings the vibration down on the planet, and I'm telling you, that is not the direction we want to go. We want to do things that are going to lift up humanity. And it does matter. It does matter, our thoughts and our words and our action. If we're doing things, if we're creating more than we're consuming, if we are, finding gratitude in our day, like, that is the best thing we can do. If you're watching these horrific, natural disasters and things happen, like, anchor in gratitude for what you do have and hold space for those suffering, but don't get caught up to a point where it's just feeding into the chaos.
Yeah. I think in my previous versions of myself too, I often, if there was chaos happening, whether it's politically or whatever, because I worked in politics, I would sacrifice myself to help other people constantly.
Yeah.
And I think we're actually being tasked, especially this year, it's like, go inward. We're really here. You got to help yourself before you can ever help anyone else. And so often it's like, this disaster and this disaster, this is happening, and this is happening. And it's like, you got to make sure your home is in order before you can just break your back helping everyone.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what we want to, like, leave you with, is tune into yourself, trust yourself, know when something is too much, and be okay with taking a break. Like, get off social media if you need.
Yep.
If it's not serving you, if it's causing fear in your life, go do something for yourself.
Yeah.
I really think looking at things from a much bigger perspective, I'm going to say that a lot. And this isn't like how do I say this? I think Baytop and I are really good at seeing things from a larger, like, grand perspective. And I don't ever want to say this to take away from the suffering and things that are going on around us, because there's a lot going on. And this year is going to be a big astrological year. Like, nothing has happened like this in our lifetime. And what's coming along with that is going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of fear. But I think this is all happening for us.
Yeah.
And I obviously don't want to look at someone in the face and be like, oh, you're suffering. This is all happening for you. Like, that's not what we want to hear.
No, we don't want to be spiritual bypassing.
Yeah, we don't want to be doing that. We still have to be in these situations. We still have to move through them. And we're not going to be escaping that.
No,
like, I don't know what's going to happen this year. I don't know what awaits for us. But I do know, I believe this in all of my being, that we are moving into a new energy, a new timeline. And things have to fall apart before they can get better. They have to. They cannot continue to go as they have been going. So when you're seeing things around you falling apart and it feels like, oh my gosh, the world is ending and everything's terrible, just take a step back and try to anchor in with the knowing that everything is happening on such a grander scale, even though it feels like the world's ending.
Yeah.
How do I say that? I don't know how to say that better. I don't want to bypass anything.
Yeah.
We still need to feel our emotions, and we still need to feel through these experiences. But at the same time, there's something bigger happening.
There's something bigger unfolding.
And that's beautiful, because we chose to be here during this time. And I think that's so empowering.
Yeah. I think it's not that we're saying, ignore what's happening, because we're not saying that. It's it's easy. It's going to be very easy to get caught up in what's coming and get caught up in this messiness of everything that's happening. And there's so much work that we all still need to be doing internally, I feel.
Totally.
And so making sure the external doesn't strip you from your own internal creations and connection that you're trying to heal and grow from.
I love that.
I want to just a journaling question I had to leave the audience. That's such a weird. I'm not saying audience again. That's so weird.
Yeah, that does sound weird.
Ew, the audience. I don't like that. That was
our community.
That. Our community
people. Our people.
Our homie G's. Well, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that this is a great. Yeah, go.
Okay, I just hold on. It's written down. Okay, journaling this week. Something to focus on is where have your patterns been showing up over and over again? And where you feel like you need more discernment. Is
Ooh, love
it
that.
the way you date, your work? What is it? Let's start getting clear in these patterns so we can sift out this discernment.
It's time to grow.
It's time to grow.
This is
Oh
the
my
year.
gosh.
It's time. This is the year. Use your discernment. Go inward. We've got this, you guys. And we'll be here, kind of dissecting things as they go and hopefully offering like a more grounding perspective because I think it's really easy to get caught up in the fear. So I hope we can be a little light while being realistic, but then also showing you a bigger perspective.
Yeah, I might still go on a tangent. You'd be like, what the hell? I'll be like, just ignore me this week. Next week.
Next week we'll be back to love and light.
Yeah, usually it's like the day of my period where I go on a tangent and then I'm done for the rest of the month.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, now you know. The more you know.
All right, well, thanks for joining us. Leave us a comment, review. You know where to find us. Like all the things. It really helps us reach more people and find our community.
Yeah, thank you.
Awaken, laugh, repeat.
Yay, yay.
See ya.
Bye. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go home and I'll send you the authenticity one and then we can just.
Wait, do you want to do one more? Or are you done?
Well, do you have your kids coming?
In an hour.
Oh, 1 hour? Okay.